there's always going to be a little bit of risk, but hiding from that risk has another cost in terms of our relationships, in terms of our ability to get together with one another and actually, feel like life is worth living, because life that's lived in constant fear of death isn't really living. That's just existing, right? And that's something that unfortunately a lot of us have settled for in terms of just having comfort and control. We've kind of settled for this sense of, tomorrow's going to be the same as today, and that's good enough. And as you and I have said many times, stagnation is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Alan Watts has talked about that a little bit, just the idea of people living a life fully, for 50 years versus a life, in constant fear and just like kind of living by the society's blueprint until they're 100. Like, which one is better? I think it is up for debate, and something I think that's fairly applicable to this type of situation that I've been thinking about recently is just the idea of suffering and like additional suffering on top of the situation at hand, and how thinking that things should be different than they are adds this layer of suffering on top of already difficult situations. Like if you're able to see things for what they are, not necessarily immediately label them as good or bad, just kind of sit in that uncertainty of like, I don't know, like I know this isn't good or bad. People will argue that certain things are good, certain things are bad, but thinking that a certain situation, like whether it's macro or micro, like as the way the world is right now, thinking it should be different, it's like there's a degree that can foster change and growth and like sort of being that change. But if you get too deep into sort of like a pattern of resistance, it just adds suffering.